Lightning struck as he raised the sledgehammer, ready to demolish his inheritance, a dilapidated shed. Rain poured through the leaky roof, mixing with his tears of desperation. But as he began to tear the shed down, a dust-laden box appeared, concealing a truth that would transform his world in ways he never imagined. His hands shook as he lifted the mysterious container, unprepared for its life-altering contents. This story will leave you stunned. In the heart of Bakersfield, California, a young accountant named Finn was drowning, not in water, but in the suffocating monotony of his life. Each day, the weary young man waded through a sea of paperwork, the ringing phones and clacking keyboards his constant companions. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sickly glow on the drab gray cubicles that seemed to close in around him. His boss, a perpetually dissatisfied man named Mr. Graves, loomed over him like a storm cloud, ready to burst at the slightest misstep. "Finn," he would bark, his voice grating like nails on a chalkboard. "These numbers don't add up. Do it again." And the beleaguered employee would nod, swallowing his frustration and dive back into the endless columns of figures. The dispirited accountant felt trapped in this gray, lifeless existence, his dreams of a brighter future slowly eroding under the relentless tide of tedium. He longed for something, anything, to break the cycle of drudgery that threatened to consume him whole. At night, the exhausted young man would lie awake, staring at the cracked ceiling of his tiny apartment, wondering if this was all life had in store for him. But the devoted grandson had no choice but to weather this daily tempest. The meager salary was his lifeline, the only thing keeping him and his ailing grandfather afloat. The elderly man, who had raised him after his parents' tragic accident, now relied on his grandson for everything. The roles had reversed, and the hardworking young man found himself caring for the man who had once bandaged his scraped knees and chased away his nightmares. The medical bills piled up like mountains, casting long shadows over the struggling accountant's future. Each month, he would sit at his small kitchen table, surrounded by a sea of envelopes stamped with red urgent notices, trying to figure out how to stretch his paycheck just a little further. The selfless caregiver worked tirelessly, sacrificing his own comforts and desires to ensure his beloved grandfather received the care he needed. No matter how tight money got, the devoted grandson refused to let his grandfather down. Then came the call that shattered his world like fragile glass. It was a quiet Tuesday evening, and the weary young man had just settled down with a microwave dinner when his phone rang. The nurse's voice was gentle but firm as she delivered the news. His rock, his beloved grandfather, was gone. In that moment, the heartbroken grandson felt the ground disappear beneath his feet, leaving him adrift in a sea of grief and debt. The pain of losing his guiding light was almost too much to bear. The orphaned young man felt utterly alone, the weight of his responsibilities threatening to crush him. He wandered through the following days in a haze, barely able to function. The world seemed to have lost all color, all meaning without his grandfather's warm presence and reassuring smile. The only thing keeping the grieving grandson anchored was the old dilapidated shed his grandfather had left him. To the young man, it was a crumbling reminder of happier times, of laughter echoing off wooden walls as he and his kind-hearted mentor tinkered with broken gadgets. He could almost smell the sawdust and hear the cheerful whistling of his grandfather as they worked side by side. Those sun-drenched memories were a lifeline, a glimmer of warmth in the bleak landscape of his current existence. But the shed, like the young man's hopes, was falling apart. The roof sagged dangerously, shingles missing, like gaps in a toothless grin. The walls leaned at precarious angles, held together more by willpower than nails. Selling it seemed the only option to keep the tide of bills at bay. With a heavy heart, the sole heir began the painful process of sorting through his late grandfather's belongings, preparing to say goodbye to this last vestige of his love. Each item he touched brought a fresh wave of memories. The old radio they had fixed together when he was 10, the collection of mismatched tools that had built countless projects, the faded photographs of fishing trips and backyard barbecues. The young man's vision blurred with tears as he carefully packed away these pieces of his past. That night, as the exhausted grandson lay in his rented room, a strange dream took hold. His grandfather's ghost, bathed in ethereal light, drifted through the shed, pointing insistently at a dusty corner before vanishing. The dream was so vivid, so real, that the young man could almost smell his grandfather's familiar scent of pipe tobacco and aftershave. He awoke with a start, his late grandfather's name on his lips, and an inexplicable sense of urgency tugging at his heart. Shaken, the curious young man returned to the shed the next day, his steps guided by an unseen force. The air inside was thick with dust and memories, particles dancing in the thin shafts of sunlight that penetrated the gloom. There, behind the old piano that had been silent for years, sat the shoebox from his dream, untouched by time. It was unremarkable, just a battered cardboard box, but the young man's heart raced as he approached it. With trembling hands, the anxious heir opened it, his heart pounding out a symphony of fear and anticipation. Inside lay a treasure map to a new life, land deeds, and a report proclaiming riches hidden deep within the earth. Lithium, the gold of the modern age. The astonished young man's eyes widened as he read the documents, his mind struggling to comprehend the implications. The land he had written off as dilapidated and worthless was a gold mine waiting to be tapped. Tears of disbelief and joy streamed down the overwhelmed grandson's face as he realized his grandfather's final priceless gift. In that moment, the dark clouds that had haunted him for so long parted, letting the sun shine through. It was as if his late grandfather's love had reached across the veil, guiding him towards a brighter tomorrow. As he stood on the cusp of a new beginning, the grateful heir could almost feel his grandfather's comforting presence beside him, his weathered hand resting proudly on his shoulder. The shed, once a symbol of decay and despair, now stood as a monument to the unbreakable bond between a boy and his grandfather. With renewed purpose and hope burning bright in his heart, the young man looked out over his land, ready to embrace the future his grandfather had always believed he deserved. In the days that followed, the determined grandson threw himself into researching lithium mining and contacting experts in the field. He navigated a maze of permits, environmental assessments, and negotiations driven by a newfound determination. The road ahead was long and challenging, but for the first time in years, the reinvigorated young man felt alive, energized by the possibilities that stretched before him. In the end, it wasn't just lithium that the persevering grandson uncovered, but a wellspring of strength and resilience, forged in the fires of adversity. His discovery sent shockwaves through the community, transforming him overnight into a local celebrity. Researchers flocked to his land, eager to study the vast lithium deposits, while government officials scrambled to negotiate deals that would secure this valuable resource. As news of the discovery spread, offers began pouring in, all vied for a piece of the young man's newfound fortune. The numbers were staggering, beyond anything he could have imagined in his wildest dreams. Within weeks, the former accountant went from struggling to billionaire, his name splashed across headlines and his face appearing on national news broadcasts. The day the newly minted billionaire walked into his old office to resign was one he would never forget. His former boss, Mr. Graves, who had always looked down on him, now stumbled over his words, trying desperately to convince his former employee to stay. "We can work something out," he pleaded, his face flushed with embarrassment. "I always knew you had potential." But it was too late. The vindicated young man politely declined, savoring the sweet taste of success as he walked out of those gray cubicles for the last time. As his wealth grew, so did the grateful grandson's appreciation for the lessons his grandfather had taught him. He remembered the countless times his wise mentor had emphasized the importance of kindness, hard work, and never judging others. Now, standing at the pinnacle of success, the young man understood the wisdom in those words more than ever. he used his newfound resources to establish a foundation in his grandfather's name, dedicated to providing medical care for the elderly and supporting young entrepreneurs. The shed, once destined for demolition, was transformed into a community center, a place where people could come together to learn, create, and support one another. The young man's story became a testament to the power of perseverance and the unexpected ways life can change. He never forgot the struggles he had faced, the nights spent worrying about bills, or the kindness his grandfather had shown him. These memories kept him grounded, reminding him of the value of compassion and the importance of helping others. As he stood on the porch of his new mansion, looking out over the land that had changed everything, the proud grandson felt a profound sense of gratitude. He had not only uncovered a fortune in lithium, but had also discovered the true richness of his grandfather's legacy, a wealth of love, wisdom, and unwavering faith that no amount of money could ever match.